Good afternoon, everybody. And first of all, thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity of sharing this afternoon a little bit about my country, about Panama, and how is it that we were living this story of us. And I think it's wonderful how this is being constructed and how it's being shared with others. And I am certain that we can all learn a lot from our experiences. Let me also mention that we value from Panama the contributions that Harvard has made to our country. Currently, the youngest member of our cabinet, a young female, is a graduate of Harvard. It's actually also a graduate of Harvard Law. So we have very close to us the contributions. Natalia Canem, who's a Panamanian, also a Harvard graduate, has just been appointed director of the United Nations Population Fund. So we are very thankful for these contributions. We see ourselves as Panamanians as a country whose mission is to connect. Actually, we emerged from the waters 3 million years ago to connect to land masses, to connect North America and South America. Through the Camino de Cruces, the Portobello fairs, the crossing of people from the west coast of the United States, from the east coast of the United States to the west coast of the United States, during the gold rush, we saw Panama being the crossroads for the world. That led to the building of the Panama Canal Railroad to connect the Pacific Ocean and the Atlantic Ocean, which was built with a large immigration from China. That led to the construction of the Panama Canal, which was built with large numbers of immigrants as well. We like to see ourselves as our motto, our national motto says, pro mundi beneficio, for the benefit of the world. We are a small country, 4 million people, with a unique story, I would say, in terms of economics. We have no central bank. We have no single currency. We use the dollar ever since we were created as a republic over 100 years ago. We have a very diversified economy with no one sector of the economy representing more than 20% of gross domestic product. We, as Ricardo Hausmann has mentioned, we have developed many letters, creating a large economic complexity. The first country in Latin America and the Caribbean, according to MIT's in the Economic Complexity Index. What is it that has made us what we are, and what are the challenges that we have facing our future? I would like to share with you what I think would be our story of us. First of all, as I already mentioned, the Panama Canal, which was built at the beginning of the 1900s. When the Panama Canal was built, 87% of the workers were expats, and the rest were Panamanians. We had people from the Caribbean, from Asia, from Central and South America, and these migrants stayed in Panama and have helped us build the country that we have today. Last year, in 2017, 95% of the canal workforce was Panamanians, and only 5% of the workforce at the canal were foreigners. So if we're talking, as we have been talking today, about what migration can bring to a country in terms of knowledge, in terms of learning, I would like to say that we have really been able, in some of the sectors of our economy, to take this knowledge and build it into our own people, in such a way that 80% of the workers that built the original canal were foreigners, and now 95% of the workers of the canal are Panamanians. So in 100 years, this know-how transfer and knowledge, this fusion has been there. After 86 years of US administration of the Panama Canal, and a very long and difficult struggle to recuperate the canal, I'd like to tell you that during the first years of the canal, of US administration, $1.9 billion were received by Panama. In the last 16 years of Panamanian administration of the Panama Canal, $11.7 billion have been received from the canal. So this is a large incorporation to our economy, to our national budget, which we're definitely using for social progress, to move in terms of health, education, the fight against poverty. We also had and a boost with the expanded canal, which we are very proud to say that was built under Panamanian administration with foreign companies, but under Panamanian administration, under Panamanian management. And in contrast with the original canal, the expanded canal was built 90% with Panamanian workforce. With its development, the canal is making a direct impact on the economy, but the deepest effect has been on the conglomerate of services that has been created around the canal, with the ports industry, with the services industry, and the logistics sector in general that surrounds the Panama Canal. Together, our maritime hub and an air hub make up about 20% of our GDP. As an example, we have been able to develop a modern ports infrastructure ranking at the top 10th in the world in the recent decade, according to the World Economic Forum. Mostly African Americans from the Caribbean came to Panama to build the canal. Mostly Chinese workers came to Panama to build the railroads. I would say that forever as I can remember, these Afro-descendants and Chinese are part of us, are as seen as Panamanian and as part of the Panamanian history. In terms of the aviation example, we have Copa Airlines. 70 years ago, we had no aviation industry. 70 years ago, we didn't have mechanics, pilots, but we had a geographic position that would make it appeal to developing an aviation hub. Hiring foreign pilots, hiring mechanics, crew members, and other human resources were needed in order to develop an aviation industry that we have today and that connects more than 80 cities within the Americas and also connects Panama with many cities in Europe. This reality forced Panama to hire foreign mass workers that have been there to help us train our own. And nowadays, more than 90% of Copa's workforce are Panamanians. So if we look at the Panama Canal and how it was built mostly by foreigners that helped train our people and stayed in Panama, and we look at the aviation industry, which was developed much later than the canal, we have the same situation. Currently, 15 million passengers use the Tocumen International Airport yearly. With the expansion that is being under construction right now and will be operational by the end of the year, this year we expect that this 15 million will jump to 25 million passengers crossing Panama in our air hub. Panama is taking this growth to benefit people, as I already mentioned, in areas such as poverty. We have been able to reduce poverty from 30% in 2010 to 21% in 2017. Now, I think this is still large, especially for a country that is growing, that has grown steadily for the past 15 years, that will probably have, according to the World Bank, the highest per capita income in Latin America this year. We are supposed to pass Chile in this regard. But a jump from 30% to 21% in a little over 6 years, it's quite significant. And we are sure that with the continued investment in these sectors, we will continue to move very fast in this direction. Our unemployment, currently at 4.6%, is one of the lowest in the world, compared with 4.9% in the US, 6.5% in Chile, 7% in Canada, and 8.5% in the European Union. We also have one of the lowest inflation rates at 0.6%, and one of the highest and most stable investment ratings of the region by the most important rating agencies, along with other factors that continue to create a very trustworthy economic environment for my country. This sustained scenario has allowed us to make our country attractive to more than 145 multinational companies like Procter & Gamble, Dell, and Nike, through particular economic regimes that appeal to the incorporation into our economy of foreign nationals and foreign expertise. The same regime, for example, and this is interesting, allows a foreign company that sets up in Panama their regional headquarters to bring to Panama 100% of their professionals. However, even though the legal framework allows them to bring 100% expats, they have an average of 17% expats. So they are hiring Panamanians for the majority of the positions. And the mix of the expats with the knowledge, with the expertise, with our nationals, they're learning on the job every day. I think it's the story of the aviation industry, again, the story of the canal. Again, I just wish we could do more of this, and this is something that was raised in a Harvard study led by Ricardo and his team recently. I don't want to say that Panama has it solved in terms of incorporated migrants. We really don't. We have over 50 professions that are restricted. Ricardo Miguel couldn't teach in Panama in a university. That's prohibited. If you are a lawyer, if you are a doctor, if you are a nurse, you have to be a Panamanian national in order to work in Panama. So we do have important challenges still, but we are continuing to incorporate changes into our legislation to make it easy to bring talent. For example, and we were discussing this morning, what happens to husbands, wives of these expats that we're bringing for the regional headquarters. Currently, they don't have work permits. And this is a great loss for the country because usually you have a couple of both being professionals, both having something to add value, and one of them has the opportunity of having the work permit and the other one doesn't, and this creates a problem. We are currently working on a reform to our legislation to include that. We do need to take these steps as the political scenario allows us to take them. It is a reality that as much as immigration has been positive for Panama's economy, it continues to be positive for Panama's economy, it's not easy to tell the story. It's not easy to communicate it. The evaluation of common citizens still is, they're taking my job. We have not been able to share the message of, they're not taking your job. They are working beside you, teaching you what you don't know, or they are opening new businesses and hiring you. We have not been able to communicate that enough. That's why I really think that having these sort of discussions and bringing these sort of discussions to our countries is really helpful. Because I think not only Panama can continue to benefit from an approach like this, but the world can continue to benefit from an approach like this. The more we collaborate, the more we integrate, the more our countries will be able to grow and achieve the development challenges that we still have and that we still share. These are just a few examples of what I think are examples of the story of us, and I really like that name, by the way. I think if we are able to gather some conclusion, we can say that foreigners are not substitutes for nationals. Foreigners are complements for nationals. And the more we are able to share this message, the more we will be able to include this in order to transform economies and transform countries. We're working very hard on our migration policies, as has been said, trying to incorporate changes to the special regimes, trying to incorporate changes in our visa requirements, not only for working permits, but even for tourism. We have just launched, in terms of foreign policy, the Falcon policy, which aims at getting closer to regions that have been traditionally farther away from Panama, Asia, the Middle East, Africa. We established diplomatic relations last year with China, and along with that, we have really opened our migration policy with China. Before, if you wanted to come to Panama, even if for tourism and you were a national of China, you needed to hire a lawyer at a large cost, and you needed to wait for about 6 months in order to get that visa. We have changed that. We have established a set number of visas per year. We have installed in our consulates in China people from our Migration and Security Council offices in order for them to do the security scrutiny that needs to be done before providing visas. And we have really opened up. We did the same thing with Cuba 3 years ago. And I'd like to tell you that of the visas that we're giving to Cubans, we have already measured it. It's been over 2 years. 99% are coming back. They come to Panama, they shop in Panama, they go back. They go back to the island. That's what's happening. The myth in the case of Cubans migrating to Panama, it was a myth to think that they would come and want to stay. They're not. They're just coming and going back with goods. So we are committed to continue to evaluate our migration policies in terms of visas for tourism, in terms of visas for working permits as well. We seek to consolidate Panama as a connection for Europe, Asia, the Middle East, and Africa to the rest of the region. Our air hub, I think, allows for that, promotes that. In that regard, we have received the news from Emirates Airlines a few months ago that they will inaugurate a daily flight from Dubai to Panama direct, this along with other European airlines that are already flying to Panama, about 6 of them, Turkish, Lufthansa, Iberia, Air France, make it the ideal connectivity place from Latin America to other regions of the world. And as the world shrinks and companies have a global perspective and have global presence, this definitely, it's a way in which Panama can continue to promote connectivity and to promote our vision of servicing the world. So how can we look into the future? And a big red timeout is there, so I'm concluding. Into the future, we understand clearly the challenges that we still have, the challenges in terms of migration, the challenges in terms of human capital, and I just hope that we can move in that path in a more rapid way than we have been in the past years. Thank you.